The November rain came down in that miserable way it always did in the city. Not quite heavy enough to justify an umbrella, but cold enough to cut straight through your coat and settle deep in your bones. Robert Harrison pulled his jacket tighter as he stepped off the bus at the corner of 5th and Madison, his breath misting in the frigid air. At 69, the cold bothered him more than it used to, especially on nights like this when his volunteer shift at the homeless shelter had run late. All Rob wanted was to get home, make a cup of hot coffee, and rest his aching feet before bed. The 5-block walk to his small house usually took about 15 minutes, and he knew every crack in the sidewalk, every streetlight that flickered, every storefront that had been there for decades. This was his neighborhood. He'd raised his daughter here, buried his wife here 3 years ago, and planned to die here eventually. But tonight, God had other plans. He saw her from about half a block away, a hunched shape curled up beneath the awning of Miller's Hardware, which had closed down 6 months ago. Just another homeless person seeking shelter from the rain. Rob had seen dozens tonight at the shelter, and his heart had grown heavy with each story of loss and hardship. He almost walked past, his mind already on that hot coffee waiting at home. Then the streetlight caught something, a glint of silver at her neck. Rob's heart stuttered. His feet stopped moving of their own accord. He squinted through the rain, took 3 steps closer, and felt the world tilt sideways beneath him. That necklace, a simple silver chain with a small heart pendant. He'd given it to his daughter Emma on her 18th birthday. She'd cried when she opened the box, thrown her arms around his neck, and promised she'd never take it off. "No," he whispered, the word barely audible over the rain. "No, no, no." His legs carried him forward, faster now, his old knees protesting but ignored. When he was 6 feet away, there was no doubt left. The long, dark hair matted with rain and dirt. The way she had her arms tucked against her chest, the same protective posture she'd had as a little girl when she was scared or cold. The sneakers, one too big and mismatched, the other barely held together with frayed laces. "Oh my God," Rob breathed, his voice cracking. "Emma! Emma!" He dropped to his knees beside her, ignoring the pain that shot through his joints, ignoring the cold water that immediately soaked through his pants. His hands trembled as he reached out to touch her shoulder. "Sweetheart, wake up. Please wake up." She stirred, slowly, as if pulling herself up from the bottom of a deep well. When her eyes finally focused on him, Rob saw something that broke what was left of his heart, a flicker of recognition, followed immediately by shame so profound it made her turn her face away. "Dad?" Her voice was hoarse, broken. What are you doing here?" Rob couldn't speak. His throat had closed up completely. He just pulled her into his arms, feeling how light she'd become, how her ribs pressed against him through the thin, worn jacket she was wearing. She started to cry against his chest, weak, exhausted sobs that shook her whole body. "I'm sorry," she kept whispering. "I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry." "Shh," he managed, stroking her filthy hair with shaking hands. "We're going home. Right now. You're not spending one more second out here." Getting her to her feet was harder than it should have been. She was weak, malnourished, and exhausted in a way that went bone deep. They made their way slowly down those 5 blocks, Emma leaning heavily on Rob's shoulder. Each step felt like a mile. Every time a car passed, Rob felt Emma flinch, as if expecting something terrible. He didn't ask questions. Not yet. First, he had to get his little girl home and safe. The questions, and God, he had so many questions, could wait. When they finally reached his small house, Rob guided Emma straight to the couch, wrapped her in the thick fleece blanket his late wife had loved, and went to make soup. His hands shook so badly as he heated the can that he almost dropped it twice. Emma managed only a few spoonfuls before her eyes started to close. Rob watched her fall asleep sitting up, her head lolling to the side, and for a long moment he just stood there in his small living room, looking at his daughter, his beautiful, brilliant daughter, who used to dream of changing the world, sleeping on his couch like a ghost of herself. And then the rage came, hot and dense and terrifying. Because someone had done this to her. Someone had taken his daughter, the same girl who'd graduated top of her class, who'd had such a bright future, and broken her so completely that she'd ended up sleeping on the street like she was worth nothing. Rob knew who. He'd never trusted Derek Mitchell, not from the first day Emma had brought him home, smiling and starry-eyed and so desperately in love. And now, standing in his living room at 3 in the morning, watching his daughter sleep the sleep of the exhausted and defeated, Robert Harrison made a promise to himself and to his late wife's memory. He was going to make Derek Mitchell pay for every single thing he'd done. The morning sun was cruel. It illuminated every detail Rob had tried not to see in the darkness, the dirt ground so deep into Emma's skin that a single night wouldn't wash it away, the bruises on her arms, the gauntness of her face, the way her clothes hung on her frame like they belonged to someone twice her size. Rob had slept in the dining room chair, his head resting on his arms at the table, unwilling to leave Emma alone even for the few steps it would take to reach his bedroom. He woke to find her sitting up on the couch, staring at her hands in her lap, silent tears streaming down her face. "Morning, sweetheart," he said softly, standing up and wincing as his back protested. "You want some breakfast?" Emma shook her head. "Dad, I need to tell you what happened." Rob poured himself a coffee with hands that were steadier than they'd been last night, though not by much. He sat down in the armchair across from her and waited. "Take your time," he said. "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." Emma's hands twisted together in her lap. "Derek sold the house," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. 8 months ago. He didn't tell me. I didn't know until the new owners showed up and told me I had to leave. He'd already moved out, already moved in with her. The words hit Rob like physical blows, but he kept his expression neutral, encouraging her to continue. "I didn't have anywhere to go," Emma continued, the words coming faster now, like a dam breaking. "I tried calling him, but he'd blocked my number. I went to his new place, but security wouldn't let me in. I couldn't come here, Dad. I was so ashamed." "Ashamed?" Rob's voice cracked. "Baby, why?" "Because Derek always said," she paused, swallowing hard. "He always said you couldn't handle stress, that if I told you about our problems, it might trigger another heart attack, that I'd be responsible for killing you." Rob felt something cold settle in his chest. Derek had known about the mild heart attack he'd had 2 years ago. Of course, he'd weaponized it. "That son of a—" He caught himself, took a breath. "Sweetheart, that's not true. None of that is true." "I know," Emma whispered. "I know that now. But back then, I believed him. I believed everything he told me." She told him the rest then, in broken pieces that Rob had to fit together like a horrific puzzle. How Derek had controlled all their finances, giving her an allowance like she was a child. How he'd isolated her from friends, making her feel guilty any time she wanted to see someone without him. How he'd convinced her to quit her job, saying a wife shouldn't work, then held her financial dependence over her head constantly. "After he left, I tried to find work," Emma said. "But Derek, he'd called my old company, told them I was unstable, that I'd stolen from him. Nobody would hire me. I had some money saved, but it ran out so fast. I stayed with a friend for a while, but I could see I was wearing out my welcome. Then a cheap motel, then my car, then the street," Rob finished, his voice hollow. Emma nodded, tears flowing freely now. "I tried, Dad. I really tried, but I was so tired of fighting, of trying to survive, of waking up every day not knowing where I'd sleep that night. And Derek's voice was always in my head, telling me I was worthless, telling me I deserved this, telling me I was better off dead than being a burden to you." The last words came out in a sob, and Rob was across the room in an instant, pulling her into his arms. "Listen to me," he said fiercely, holding her face between his hands so she had to look at him. "You are not worthless. You are not a burden. You are my daughter, my family, my entire world. Do you understand me? If you had come to me on day 1, I would have moved heaven and earth to help you. I would have given you everything I have." "I was so stupid," Emma wept. "So stupid to believe him, to stay with him, to let him—" "No," Rob interrupted. "You weren't stupid. You were a victim. There's a difference, sweetheart. You loved someone who betrayed that love. That's not your fault. That's his sin, not yours." They stayed like that for a long time, Rob holding his daughter while she cried years of pain and humiliation and fear onto his shoulder. When she finally pulled back, exhausted, Rob made her eat some toast and drink some orange juice. She needed nutrition, rest, and safety, in that order. "He lives at the Oaks condominiums now," Emma said quietly, staring at her juice. "With Vanessa," His mistress. They're saying she's pregnant. That's why he sold the house so fast. He needed money for his new life. The words settled over Rob like a lead blanket. Derek had traded Emma in for a younger model and a fresh start, and he'd done it without a shred of remorse or guilt. "Emma," Rob said carefully, "I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" She looked at him with those haunted eyes. "Yes. I'm going to make this right," he said. "I'm going to get you your life back, but I need you to stay here, stay safe, and let me handle Derek." "Dad, he's dangerous. You don't know what he's capable of." "And he doesn't know what I'm capable of," Rob replied, his voice harder than Emma had ever heard it. "I spent 30 years as a detective, sweetheart. I know how to handle men like Derek Mitchell." After Emma went to take a shower, her first real shower in weeks, she'd admitted, Rob sat down at his kitchen table with a yellow legal pad and began to make notes. Old habits died hard, and after 3 decades in law enforcement, his mind automatically shifted into investigative mode. The first call he made was to Samuel Brooks. Sam had been his partner back in the day, before Sam went to law school and became one of the best defense attorneys in the city. They'd stayed friends through the years, meeting for coffee once a month, attending each other's family events. Sam had been a pallbearer at Rob's wife's funeral. "Rob?" Sam answered on the second ring. "Everything okay? You never call this early." "I need your help, Sam. Legal help." 20 minutes later, Sam was at Rob's kitchen table, his reading glasses perched on his nose as he examined the house purchase agreement Emma had managed to keep, one of the few documents she'd saved before losing everything else. "This is bad, Rob," Sam said finally, tapping the signature line. "This signature transferring the property to Derek's sole ownership, it doesn't match Emma's signature on the original purchase agreement." Rob leaned forward. "Meaning?" "Meaning if Derek forged her signature, that's fraud. It's a felony. But we'd need an expert to confirm it, and we'd need to prove Derek was the one who did it." "How long do we have?" "Statute of limitations on this kind of fraud is typically 6 years, but the sale was only 8 months ago. Time isn't the issue, evidence is." Rob nodded slowly. "What if I told you I think I know who might have helped him? A notary public named Barry Stone." Sam's eyebrows went up. "Barry Stone? The guy who got busted for document fraud about 10 years back?" "Got busted, got a good lawyer, charges got reduced to a misdemeanor," Rob confirmed. "He's been clean since, officially. But if Derek needed someone to fake notarization on forged documents..." "Barry would be the guy to call," Sam finished. He sat back, removing his glasses. "Rob, what are you planning?" "I'm planning to get my daughter's life back," Rob said simply. "Will you help me?" Sam looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. "You know I will. But Rob, you need to understand, the Mitchells are a powerful family in this city. Derek's father, Thomas, has connections everywhere. Judges, politicians, business leaders. If we go after Derek, they're going to come after us hard." "Let them come," Rob said quietly. After Sam left, promising to start drawing up the legal groundwork, Rob made another call, this one to Jake Morrison, a private investigator he'd worked with on several cases back when he was still on the force. Jake was expensive, but he was good, and he was discreet. "I need you to follow someone," Rob told him. "Derek Mitchell. I want to know where he goes, who he meets, what he does, everything." "How long?" Jake asked. "Until I tell you to stop." "This is going to cost you, Rob." "I don't care what it costs," Rob replied. "Just do it." By the time Emma emerged from the bathroom, her hair clean and wearing some of Rob's old sweatpants and a t-shirt, Rob had the beginnings of a plan. It wasn't much, not yet, but it was a start. "Dad?" Emma said from the doorway. "What are you doing?" Rob looked up from his notes. "I'm doing what I should have done 2 years ago when you married that bastard," he said. "I'm protecting my daughter." That evening, after making sure Emma had eaten a proper meal and was resting, Rob took the bus across town to the Oaks condominiums. The building rose up against the twilight sky like a monument to excess, all glass and steel and perfectly manicured landscaping. It was the kind of place Rob could never afford, not on a retired detective's pension. But somehow Derek Mitchell could afford it, on a marketing director's salary. The math didn't add up, and Rob filed that detail away for later consideration. The lobby was exactly what he expected: marble floors, designer furniture, a security desk manned by a young guard in a crisp uniform. Rob approached with the confident stride of someone who belonged, even though everything about him, from his worn jacket to his scuffed shoes, screamed that he didn't. "Help you, sir?" the guard asked, polite but wary. "I'm here to see Derek Mitchell," Rob said. "Family matter." The guard checked his tablet. "You're not on the visitor list." "I wouldn't be," Rob replied evenly. "I'm his father-in-law. This is unexpected." The guard hesitated, clearly weighing procedure against the awkwardness of turning away an elderly man claiming to be family. "Let me call up." "No need to bother him," Rob interrupted smoothly. "I'll just wait here in the lobby until he comes down. He usually takes his evening walk around 8, doesn't he?" It was a complete guess, but the guard's slight nod confirmed it. Rob settled into one of the uncomfortable-looking modern chairs and waited. He didn't have to wait long. At 7:45, the elevator dinged and Derek Mitchell stepped out, wearing expensive athletic wear and talking on his phone. He was laughing at something, his whole demeanor radiating the careless confidence of a man without a conscience. Rob stood up, his movement catching Derek's eye. For just a second, Derek's face went blank with surprise. Then his expression hardened. He said something into the phone and hung up, walking over to where Rob stood. "Robert," Derek said, his voice cold, "what are you doing here?" Before Rob could answer, someone else spoke up. "Mr. Harrison?" Rob turned to see an older woman standing nearby, her arms full of grocery bags. She was somewhere in her mid-50s, with kind eyes and an expression of genuine surprise. I'm sorry," she continued. "You're Emma's father, aren't you? I'm Helen Winters. I live on the 4th floor. I used to see Emma all the time before—" She trailed off, glancing at Derek nervously. Derek's jaw tightened. "Helen, this isn't—" "I remember you," Helen interrupted, her voice gaining strength as she looked at Rob. "Emma showed me pictures once. She was so proud of you." "You knew my daughter?" Rob asked, ignoring Derek completely. Helen nodded, her eyes filling with sympathy. "I did. She was lovely. Always so polite, so kind. I'm sorry about what happened." "Helen," Derek said, his voice sharp with warning, but Helen ignored him, stepping closer to Rob. "Could we talk?" she asked quietly. "Maybe outside? I have some things I think you should know." Rob glanced at Derek, whose face had gone red with barely suppressed anger, then back at Helen. "I'd like that very much." As they walked toward the door, Derek called out, "Robert, you need to leave. You're not welcome here." Rob stopped and turned back to face his former son-in-law. "Neither was Emma, apparently," he said quietly. "But we'll talk again soon, Derek. Count on it." Outside, Helen led Rob to a small cafe around the corner. Over coffee, she told him everything. The arguments she'd heard through the walls, the time she'd seen Derek shove Emma in the hallway, he'd claimed Emma had tripped, the woman who'd been visiting Derek long before he and Emma had separated. "I wanted to help," Helen said, her voice thick with guilt. "But Derek, his family has so much influence." I said, "I was afraid. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I was afraid of what might happen if I got involved." "You're helping now," Rob said gently, "and that's what matters." When he left the cafe an hour later, Rob had filled several pages in his notebook with Helen's observations, along with her phone number and a promise that she'd testify if needed. On the bus ride home, Rob stared out the window at the city lights and thought about Derek Mitchell living in his expensive condo, sleeping peacefully next to his pregnant mistress, completely secure in the belief that he'd gotten away with destroying Emma's life. But what Derek didn't know, what he couldn't know, was that Robert Harrison had spent 30 years tracking down men who thought they were smarter than the law, and he'd caught every single one of them. Derek Mitchell was about to learn that some men don't stop fighting just because they get old. Some men fight harder. Sunday morning arrived with deceptive peace. Rob was making scrambled eggs, watching Emma sleep on the couch, when the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, he saw a familiar face, Detective Lisa Rodriguez, his former colleague from the force. But she wasn't smiling. Rob opened the door. "Lisa, what's wrong?" Lisa glanced past him toward Emma, her expression pained. "Rob, I need to talk to you, officially." His stomach dropped. "Come in." In the kitchen, Lisa pulled out a folded document from her jacket. "Rob, there's a warrant out for Emma's arrest." The words hit him like a freight train. "What?" Derek Mitchell filed a report 3 months ago. He's claiming Emma embezzled $150,000 from their joint account before they separated. Lisa's voice was tight, professional, but Rob could hear the sympathy beneath it. There's documentation, bank transfers, statements, everything. The warrant was issued 2 weeks ago. Rob's hands gripped the edge of the counter. That's impossible. Emma doesn't have any money. She was living on the street, for God's sake. I know, Lisa said quietly. Which is why I'm here unofficially giving you a heads up. But Rob, the evidence looks solid. There's an account in Emma's name with deposits matching the missing funds, transfer authorizations with her signature. Forged, Rob said immediately. Derek forged everything. He's framing her. Then you need to prove it, Lisa replied. I can give you 24 hours before I have to bring her in. After that, I won't have a choice. After Lisa left, Rob sat at the kitchen table, his head in his hands. Emma emerged from the living room, having heard everything. He set me up, she whispered, her voice hollow. He didn't just take everything. He's trying to put me in prison. Rob looked up at his daughter, saw the fear in her eyes, and felt something crystallize inside him. This wasn't just about getting justice anymore. This was about survival. We're going to fight this, he said. Call Samuel. All. We need him now. By noon, they were sitting in Samuel's office, a converted brownstone near the courthouse. Sam spread the documents across his mahogany desk, his reading glasses sliding down his nose as he examined each page. This is sophisticated, Sam said finally. Derek didn't just steal money, he created an entire paper trail implicating Emma. Look here. He pointed to a bank statement. Account opened 6 months before the separation, regular deposits, then one large withdrawal right after Derek filed for divorce. It looks exactly like Emma was planning to clean him out. But I didn't open that account, Emma said, her voice shaking. I've never seen these documents before in my life. I believe you, Sam replied. The question is, can we prove it? Rob, you mentioned Barry Stone, the notary? Rob nodded. Derek would need someone to notarize the account opening documents, make it look legitimate. If we can prove Stone falsified the notarization, it might unravel the whole case, Sam said. But that's a big if. Stone's been careful since his last arrest. He won't crack easily. Then we need more, Rob said. What about the signature? Can we get it analyzed? Sam made a note. Handwriting analysis takes time and money, but yes, I'll arrange it. He looked at Emma. Tomorrow you'll need to turn yourself in. We'll cooperate fully, show good faith. I'll be with you every step. Emma's face went pale. They'll put me in jail. No, Sam said firmly. Not if I can help it. You have no criminal record, strong community ties through your father, and no flight risk. I'll argue for release on your own recognizance. But Emma, you need to be prepared. If this goes to trial and we lose, you're looking at 5 to 10 years. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Monday morning at the precinct was a nightmare. Rob held Emma's hand as they walked through the doors, Samuel on her other side. Detectives looked up from their desks, recognizing Rob, their expressions a mixture of sympathy and professional distance. Lisa Rodriguez met them at the intake desk. Emma Harrison, she said formally, you're here to turn yourself in regarding warrant number 2024-7831? Yes, Emma said, her voice barely audible. The processing took 2 hours. Fingerprints, photographs, paperwork. Through it all, Emma remained eerily calm, as if she'd already resigned herself to whatever fate had in store. In the interrogation room, Lisa sat across from Emma while Rob and Samuel watched through the one-way glass. Tell me about your marriage to Derek Mitchell, Lisa began. Emma's story poured out, the financial control, the emotional abuse, the isolation. She explained how Derek had managed all their accounts, how she'd never been allowed to see bank statements or credit card bills. He said it was his responsibility as the husband, Emma explained, that I shouldn't worry about money. I trusted him. Did you open an account at First National Bank in your name 6 months before your separation? Lisa asked. No, I didn't even know that bank existed until you showed me these documents. Lisa pulled out another sheet. This signature here, is it yours? Emma studied it for a long moment. It looks like mine, but I never signed this. I swear to you, I never signed anything like this. When the interview ended, Lisa came out to the observation room. For what it's worth, Rob, I believe her, she said quietly. But belief isn't evidence. Samuel managed to get Emma released on her own recognizance, as promised. But as they left the precinct, Emma turned to Rob with haunted eyes. "What if we can't prove it?" she whispered. "What if I go to prison for something I didn't do?" Rob pulled her close. "That's not going to happen. I won't let it." Tuesday afternoon, Rob met Jake Morrison at a diner near the river. Jake slid a manila envelope across the table, his expression grave. "I've been tailing Derek for 3 days," Jake said, "and I found something interesting." Rob opened the envelope. Inside were surveillance photos. Derek meeting with a man in a parking garage, Derek having lunch with his father Thomas Mitchell at an exclusive golf club, and several shots of Vanessa Cole leaving and entering the condo. "Standard stuff," Jake continued, "except for this." He pulled out another photo. "That's Vanessa at a medical clinic downtown, not her regular OB. This is a cosmetic surgery place." Rob studied the image. So I followed up, talked to a nurse I know who works there. Vanessa's not pregnant." The words took a moment to register. "What?" "She's wearing a fake belly," Jake said. "I watched her go in wearing it and come out carrying it in a bag. She's conning Derek." Rob sat back, his mind racing. Why would she do that? Jake pulled out another document, a credit report. "Because Vanessa Cole is in debt to the tune of $200,000. Gambling debts, mostly. She owes some very unpleasant people, and she needs money fast. Derek was her meal ticket." "But Derek doesn't have that kind of money," Rob said slowly. "Exactly, which is probably why he sold Emma's house. But here's the kicker." Jake leaned forward. "I planted a listening device in Derek's car. Illegal as hell, won't hold up in court, but listen to this." He pulled out a small digital recorder and pressed play. Derek's voice filled the air. "Barry did exactly what I paid him for. Emma's signature looks perfect. She'll never prove it wasn't her. And even if she tries, who's going to believe a homeless woman over notarized bank documents?" Another voice, Vanessa's. "You're sure she can't fight this?" Derek, laughing. "Baby, I've thought of everything. By the time this is done, Emma will be in prison, and we'll have enough money to start fresh. My father's already talking about giving me a position at the company once this mess is cleared up." Rob's hands clenched into fists. "There's more," Jake said. "Vanessa's been recording their conversations, too. She's planning to blackmail him once the money comes through." A plan began forming in Rob's mind. "Jake, I need you to find out everything you can about Vanessa's debts. Who she owes, how much, when it's due, everything." "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking," Rob said slowly, "that Vanessa might be willing to make a deal." That evening, Rob was reviewing Jake's notes when his phone rang. Unknown number. "Mr. Harrison?" A woman's voice, professional but concerned. "This is Dr. Patricia Morgan. I'm a therapist at Mercy General Hospital. I was Emma's doctor 8 months ago." Rob's breath caught. Emma was seeing a therapist? "Yes, and Mr. Harrison, I'm calling because I saw the news about Emma's arrest. I know I'm violating confidentiality protocols, but my conscience won't let me stay silent." Dr. Morgan paused. "Your daughter attempted suicide 6 months ago." The world stopped. "She was brought to the ER after overdosing on sleeping pills," Dr. Morgan continued. "We stabilized her, and she agreed to therapy sessions, but she made me promise not to contact you. She said Derek had convinced her you were better off not knowing, that the stress would kill you." Rob couldn't speak. His daughter had tried to kill herself, and he'd had no idea. "Mr. Harrison, are you there?" "Yes," he managed. "Yes, I'm here." Emma was severely depressed, suffering from what I believe was sustained emotional abuse. She felt hopeless, worthless. She told me she believed everyone would be better off if she was dead. Dr. Morgan's voice cracked slightly. "I tried to convince her to reach out to you, but Derek had done such a thorough job of isolating her, convincing her she was a burden. I'm calling now because I think Emma needs you more than ever, and you need to know what Derek Mitchell did to her." After the call ended, Rob sat in the dark for a long time. Then he went to Emma's room, where she was sleeping. He stood in the doorway, watching his daughter's chest when he fall, and felt tears stream down his face. "I'm so sorry, baby," he whispered. "I'm so sorry I wasn't there. But I'm here now, and I swear to God, Derek Mitchell is going to pay for every moment of pain he caused you. Wednesday morning, Rob drove to Mitchell and Associates, a gleaming office building in the financial district. He didn't call ahead. He didn't make an appointment. He simply walked through the lobby, past the startled receptionist, and straight to Derek's corner office. Derek was on the phone when Rob walked in. His eyes widened in surprise, then narrowed in anger. "I'll call you back," Derek said into the phone, hanging up. "Robert, you can't just—" "My daughter tried to kill herself," Rob said, his voice deadly quiet. "Did you know that?" For just a second, genuine surprise crossed Derek's face. Emma's always been dramatic. Rob was across the room before he knew he'd moved, slamming his hands on Derek's desk. "She took pills. She nearly died. Because of you. Because you convinced her she was worthless, that she was better off dead." Derek stood up, his face reddening. "You need to leave. Now, or I'll call security." "You framed her for embezzlement," Rob continued, his voice shaking with rage. "You forged documents, you created fake accounts, and now you're trying to send her to prison for something you did." "You can't prove any of that," Derek shot back. "And you know what? Even if you could, it wouldn't matter. My family has more money and power than you could ever imagine. You're just a washed-up cop with a criminal daughter. Nobody's going to believe you." Rob straightened up, looking Derek in the eye. "I've spent 30 years putting away criminals who thought they were smarter than the law. Men who thought their money and connections would protect them. You know how many of them were right?" Derek didn't answer. "None of them," Rob said softly. "Not one, and you're not going to be the first." He turned to leave, then paused at the door. "One more thing, Derek. I know about Vanessa. I know she's not really pregnant. I know about her debts, and I know she's been recording your conversations." The color drained from Derek's face. "Sleep well," Rob said, and walked out. That night, Rob was exhausted as he pulled his old Honda into the driveway. The confrontation with Derek had taken more out of him than he wanted to admit. His chest felt tight, his breath short. At 69, adrenaline didn't dissipate as quickly as it used to. He was reaching for his house keys when he heard footsteps behind him. Rob turned just as two large men emerged from the shadows beside his garage. He recognized the type immediately. Hired muscle, probably ex-military from their bearing. "Robert Harrison?" the bigger one asked, though it wasn't really a question. "Gentlemen," Rob said carefully, his detective instincts kicking in. "Can I help you?" "You can stop digging into things that don't concern you," the man replied. He took a step closer, and Rob saw the cold professionalism in his eyes. This wasn't personal for them. It was just a job. "And if I don't?" Rob asked, though he already knew the answer. The punch to his stomach came fast, driving the air from his lungs. Rob doubled over, gasping, and strong hands shoved him against the side of his car. "Old man," the second thug said, his breath hot on Rob's ear. "You need to understand something. Derek Mitchell is protected. You keep pushing, and next time it won't just be a warning." Another punch, this time to his ribs. Rob heard something crack, felt white-hot pain explode through his side. He tried to fight back, but at 69 with a weak heart, he was no match for two professionals half his age. A kick to his legs dropped him to the ground. He lay on the cold pavement of his driveway, tasting blood, watching the two men walk away calmly as if they'd just finished a routine errand. "Dad!" Emma's scream cut through the pain. She was running from the house, dropping to her knees beside him. "Oh God, Dad, I'm calling 911. "No," Rob managed through gritted teeth. "No police. Help me. Inside." At the emergency room, the doctor confirmed what Rob already knew. 2 cracked ribs, extensive bruising, and most worryingly, his heart was showing signs of distress. "Mr. Harrison," the doctor said seriously, "your heart can't take this kind of stress. Another incident like this and you could have a full cardiac arrest. You need to rest, avoid strenuous activity, and absolutely no more physical confrontations." In the hospital bed, Emma sat beside him, crying silently. "This is my fault," she whispered. "I'm not worth this, Dad. I'm not worth you getting hurt, maybe killed." Rob reached out and gripped her hand with surprising strength. "You listen to me, Emma Harrison. You are worth everything. And these bruises?" He gestured at his battered body. "These just prove Derek is scared. Men who are winning don't hire thugs to beat up old men. They only do that when they're desperate. But Dad, Derek wanted to scare me, Rob said, his eyes hard. All he did was make me more determined. We're going to destroy him, sweetheart, not with our fists, but with the truth, and there's nothing he can do to stop us. The next morning, despite the doctor's orders and Emma's protests, Rob called a meeting. Lisa Rodriguez arrived at his house, off duty, her expression grim when she saw his bruises. "Jesus, Rob," she said, "you need to file a report." "No evidence," Rob replied. "No witnesses except Emma, who any defense attorney would tear apart. The Mitchells would bury it." "So what, you just let them get away with assault?" "No," Rob said. "I let them think they won, and while they're congratulating themselves, I'm going to build a case they can't escape from." Lisa sat down, studying him. "What do you need from me?" "I need you to bring in Barry Stone, officially. Question him about the notarization on Emma's bank documents." "Rob, I can't just—" "Lisa, you know something's wrong with this case. You said so yourself. Derek has resources, connections, money. Emma has nothing except the truth. If we don't fight dirty, we're going to lose." Lisa was quiet for a long moment, then she nodded. "I'll bring Stone in for questioning. But Rob, if this blows up, it's on both of us." "I know," Rob said. "And I'll take full responsibility." After Lisa left, Rob pulled out his phone and dialed another number. "Mr. Harrison," Vanessa Cole answered, her voice wary. "How did you get this number?" "I'm a detective, Ms. Cole. Getting phone numbers is the least of what I can do." Rob paused. "I'd like to meet with you. I have a proposition that I think you'll find very interesting." "I don't know what you're talking about. You owe $200,000 to some very dangerous people," Rob interrupted calmly. "The baby you're carrying isn't real, and you've been recording Derek's conversations because you're planning to blackmail him. Does that about sum it up?" Silence. "Ms. Cole," Rob continued, "I don't care about your debts or your schemes. I only care about getting justice for my daughter, and I think we can help each other. Meet me at Riverside Cafe tomorrow at noon. Come alone." He hung up before she could refuse, then sat back in his chair, wincing as his ribs protested. Emma came in with his pain medication. "Dad, you should be resting." "I will," he promised. "Right after tomorrow. Because tomorrow, sweetheart, we're going to turn Derek's own weapon against him." Emma looked at her father, bruised, exhausted, but with fire still burning in his eyes, and for the first time in months, she felt something she'd almost forgotten. Hope. The Riverside Cafe was nearly empty at noon on a Thursday. Rob sat in a corner booth, nursing a coffee and trying to ignore the ache in his ribs. When Vanessa Cole walked in, he was struck by how young she looked, 28 at most, with the kind of beauty that came with an expiration date in a city like this. She spotted him immediately and walked over, her movements careful, protective. The pregnancy belly looked convincing, Rob had to admit. "Mr. Harrison," she said, sliding into the booth across from him. "Thank you for coming, Miss Cole." Vanessa's eyes were wary. "You said you could help me. How?" Rob pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. "That's your financial history. The $200,000 you owe to Marcus Teng's organization. The payment that's due in 6 weeks. The threats you've been receiving." Vanessa's face went pale as she flipped through the pages. "How did you—" "I'm good at my job," Rob said simply. "And I know you're in trouble, real trouble, the kind that doesn't go away just because you're dating a man who promised to take care of everything." Derek said— "Derek doesn't have the money," Rob interrupted gently. "He sold my daughter's house to get cash, but it's not enough for what you need. And when you finally tell him about the debt, he's going to cut you loose. Men like Derek don't solve other people's problems. They run from them." Vanessa's hands trembled slightly. "What do you want from me?" "I want the recordings you've been making. The ones where Derek admits to forging Emma's signature, to framing her for embezzlement. I want your testimony in court." Rob paused. "And in exchange, I'll pay your debt. All of it." Vanessa's eyes widened. You have $200,000? "I have a retirement fund," Rob said. "I can borrow against it. The money will be in Marcus Teng's account within 48 hours of you giving me those recordings." "Why would you do that? That's your future, your security." "My daughter is my future," Rob said quietly. "And right now, you're the only person who can save her from prison. So, yes, Ms. Cole, I'll give up every penny I have if it means Emma gets her life back. Vanessa sat back, tears suddenly streaming down her face. Derek told me you were a terrible father, that you abandoned Emma, that you didn't care about her. He said she was damaged because of you. Derek's a liar, Rob said, but I think you already know that. Vanessa reached into her purse and pulled out a small thumb drive. Everything's on here. Conversations, text messages, emails. Derek bragging about how he framed Emma, how he paid Barry Stone to forge the documents, how he was going to make sure Emma went to prison so she could never come after him for the house. Rob took the drive with shaking hands. You're doing the right thing. No, Vanessa said, wiping her eyes. I'm doing the only thing I can live with. Emma doesn't deserve what Derek did to her, and you. She looked at Rob with something like awe. You're giving up everything for your daughter. She's lucky to have you. I'm the lucky one, Rob replied. Now, about your testimony. I'll do it, Vanessa said. I'll testify to everything. But Mr. Harrison, you need to know, Derek's family is powerful. When they find out I've turned on him, they're going to come after me. Let them try, Rob said. By the time this is over, the Mitchells are going to have bigger problems than you. Saturday morning, Rob was at First National Bank finalizing the loan against his retirement fund when the pain hit. It started as a tightness in his chest, then exploded into agony that radiated down his left arm. He tried to stand, to call for help, but his legs wouldn't hold him. The last thing he remembered before the darkness was the sound of someone screaming for a doctor. When he woke up, he was in a hospital bed. Emma was beside him, her face wet with tears. Dad, she sobbed. Oh God, Dad, you're awake. A doctor appeared, checking his monitors. Mr. Harrison, you've had a mild heart attack. We've stabilized you, but your heart is severely stressed. You need complete rest. No excitement, no stress, and absolutely no physical exertion. The loan, Rob croaked. Did it go through? Dad, forget the loan, Emma cried. You almost died. Samuel appeared in the doorway, his face grave. The loan went through, Rob. The money's being transferred today, but you need to listen to the doctor. How long until the trial? Rob asked. 2 weeks, Samuel replied. But Rob... Then we have time, Rob said, struggling to sit up despite the pain. Samuel, you need to coordinate with Vanessa, get her testimony recorded, get the thumb drive to a forensic analyst, and contact Lisa. We need Barry Stone brought in now, before the Mitchells figure out what we're doing. Mr. Harrison, the doctor interrupted, if you don't rest, the next heart attack will kill you. Do you understand? You're playing Russian roulette with your life. Rob looked at Emma, saw the fear in her eyes, and took her hand. Sweetheart, if I rest now, you go to prison. I can't live with that. I won't. Emma broke down completely. You're all I have left. Please, Dad. Please don't leave me. I'm not leaving you, Rob promised. But I'm not abandoning you either. We're going to finish this together. Against medical advice, Rob checked himself out of the hospital that afternoon. Emma wanted to argue, but she knew her father well enough to know it would be pointless. That evening, Samuel came to the house with news. The audio files are legitimate. I've had 3 experts verify them. Derek's voice, clear as day, admitting to everything. And Lisa brought Barry Stone in for questioning. Did he talk? Rob asked. Not yet, but Lisa's putting pressure on him. She found discrepancies in his financial records, payments from Derek that weren't reported. She's threatening tax fraud and conspiracy charges unless he cooperates. Good, Rob said. What about Vanessa? She's ready to testify, scared but ready. Samuel paused. Rob, there's something else. Thomas Mitchell has been making calls. He knows something's happening. He's trying to get the trial delayed, maybe moved to a different judge. Can he do that? He's trying, but the publicity around the case is making it difficult. Too many eyes watching now. Rob nodded. The pieces were falling into place, but he knew the Mitchells wouldn't go down without a fight. Monday afternoon, a black Mercedes pulled up in front of Rob's house. Thomas Mitchell emerged, immaculate in a tailored suit despite the heat. Emma saw him from the window. Dad, it's Derek's father. I know, Rob said, standing up slowly. Let him in. Thomas Mitchell was everything Rob expected. Commanding presence, steely eyes, the bearing of a man who'd never heard the word no, and meant it. He looked around Rob's modest living room with barely concealed disdain. Mr. Harrison, Thomas said, we need to talk, man to man. Say what you came to say, Rob replied. Thomas sat down uninvited. I'll be direct. I know you've been building a case against my son. I know about the recordings, about Vanessa, about Barry Stone. You're a thorough man. I respect that. I don't want your respect. What do you want then? Justice? Thomas smiled coldly. Let me tell you about justice, Mr. Harrison. Justice is what people with money and power say it is. You're fighting a battle you can't win. Then why are you here? Rob asked. Thomas pulled out a checkbook. Because I'd prefer to end this cleanly. I'm prepared to offer you $500,000. Cash. Today. You drop all charges, convince your daughter to let this go, and Derek leaves the state. You never see him again. Everyone moves on. Emma gasped from the doorway. $500,000. More money than she'd ever see in her lifetime. Rob looked at the checkbook, then at Thomas Mitchell. Your son drove my daughter to attempt suicide. Did you know that? Thomas's expression flickered, genuine surprise. No. She took pills. She nearly died, because Derek spent years convincing her she was worthless, that everyone would be better off if she was dead. Rob's voice was steady, but his eyes burned. And you want me to let him walk away? For money? Mr. Harrison, be reasonable. I'm being reasonable, Rob interrupted. Reasonably angry, reasonably determined, and reasonably certain that your son is going to face the consequences of what he's done. Thomas stood up, his face hardening. You're making a mistake. My family has resources you can't imagine. Lawyers, judges, politicians will bury you. Maybe, Rob said, but you'll have to do it in public. Thomas walked to the door, then turned back. I tried to do this the easy way. What happens now is on you. After he left, Emma came to her father. Dad, that was $500,000. We could have... Some things can't be bought, sweetheart, Rob said. Your dignity is one of them. The courthouse was packed. Rob sat behind Samuel at the defense table, Emma beside him. Across the aisle, Derek sat with his expensive lawyers, Thomas Mitchell in the row behind him. Judge Margaret Brennan took the bench, a severe woman in her 60s with a reputation for fairness, though Rob knew Thomas Mitchell had tried to reach her. Whether he'd succeeded remained to be seen. The prosecution went first. Their case was simple and damning. Bank records, transfer authorizations, notarized documents, all pointing to Emma systematically stealing $150,000 from her husband. The evidence is clear, the prosecutor declared. Emma Harrison planned and executed a theft from her own husband, then abandoned him when he discovered her crime. When it was Samuel's turn, he stood slowly. Your Honor, the defense will show that every piece of evidence presented today was fabricated by Derek Mitchell in a calculated effort to destroy his wife after abandoning her for his mistress. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Samuel played the audio recordings. Derek's voice filled the room. Barry did exactly what I paid him for. Emma's signature looks perfect. She'll never prove it wasn't her. The courtroom erupted. Derek's lawyer shot to his feet. Objection! That recording was obtained illegally. It was obtained by a private citizen, not law enforcement, Samuel countered. It's admissible. Judge Brennan considered. I'll allow it, but Mr. Brooks, you'll need more than a recording to prove your case. I have more, Your Honor, Samuel said. Much more. He called Vanessa to the stand. She walked up slowly, no longer wearing the fake belly, her face pale but determined. Under Samuel's questioning, Vanessa told everything, the fake pregnancy, Derek's confession about forging Emma's signature, his plan to use the embezzlement charges to ensure Emma never challenged the house sale. Derek's lawyer cross-examined ruthlessly. Ms. Cole, isn't it true you're testifying because Mr. Harrison paid you $200,000? He paid my debts, Vanessa corrected, but I'm testifying because it's the truth. A convenient truth, the lawyer sneered, one that benefits you financially. A truth that could get me killed, Vanessa shot back. I owe money to dangerous people, and by testifying, I'm burning every bridge I have with the Mitchell family. You think I'd do that for money? I'm doing it because Emma Harrison doesn't deserve what Derek did to her. The courtroom was silent. Day 2 of the trial began with Samuel calling Detective Lisa Rodriguez to the stand. Detective, did you interview Barry Stone, the notary who verified Emma Harrison's signature on the bank documents? I did, Lisa confirmed. And what did Mr. Stone tell you? He confessed to forging the notarization. He admitted that Derek Mitchell paid him $10,000 to falsify the documents. Chaos erupted. Derek was on his feet. That's a lie. I never. Mr. Mitchell, sit down, Judge Brennan ordered. Samuel presented bank records showing the $10,000 transfer from Derek to Barry. He presented emails between them discussing the special service. He presented the expert analysis showing Emma's signature was forged. Then Samuel called his final witness, Barry Stone himself, brought in under police escort. Barry looked terrible, unshaven, exhausted, defeated. He'd taken a plea deal in exchange for his testimony. Mr. Stone, Samuel began, did Derek Mitchell hire you to forge Emma Harrison's signature? Yes, Barry said quietly. And did you do so? Yes, he paid me $10,000. I created the notarization documents, forged her signature, and filed them with the bank. Why are you confessing now? Barry looked directly at the jury. Because Detective Rodriguez showed me the evidence. She showed me I was going to prison anyway. And she offered me a choice, 10 years for conspiracy and fraud, or 2 years in probation if I cooperated. He paused. I chose to tell the truth. Derek's lawyer tried to discredit him, but the evidence was overwhelming. The bank records, the emails, the expert testimony, the recordings, it all painted a clear picture of Derek's calculated destruction of his wife. In his closing argument, Samuel faced the jury directly. Ladies and gentlemen, Derek Mitchell didn't just steal money. He stole his wife's home, her dignity, her sense of self-worth. He systematically destroyed her, then tried to imprison her for crimes he committed. Emma Harrison is not the criminal in this courtroom. She's the victim. And today, you have the power to give her back what Derek Mitchell took, her freedom. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. When they returned, the foreperson stood. We find the defendant, Emma Harrison, not guilty on all counts. The courtroom exploded in applause. Emma collapsed into Rob's arms, sobbing. Rob held his daughter, feeling tears stream down his own face. Judge Brennan banged her gavel. Furthermore, I'm ordering an immediate investigation into Derek Mitchell for fraud, forgery, and perjury. Bailiff, take Mr. Mitchell into custody. As Derek was led away in handcuffs, he looked back at Rob. The arrogance was gone. In its place was fear. Rob met his eyes and nodded once. Justice served. 1 month later, Rob and Emma sat in the small garden behind his house. Emma had gained weight, her face had color again, and most importantly, she smiled. Derek was awaiting trial on multiple felony charges. Thomas Mitchell had publicly disowned his son. Vanessa had moved to another state, starting over. Dad, Emma said softly, I got a job offer today, accounting position at a small firm. Nothing fancy, but it's a start. That's wonderful, sweetheart, Rob replied. And I found an apartment. It's tiny, but it's close by. I can visit every day. Rob took her hand. You don't have to rush. Stay as long as you want. Emma squeezed his hand. I know, but I need to prove to myself that I can do this, that I can stand on my own. You've already proven that, Rob said. You survived. You fought back. You won. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Emma asked, Do you regret it, giving up your retirement money? Rob smiled. Not for a second. Money's just paper, sweetheart. You're my daughter. You're everything. Emma leaned her head on his shoulder. I love you, Dad. I love you too, baby girl. As the sun set over the garden, Robert Harrison felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. He'd fought his last fight, and he'd won.